So thank you everyone for joining. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Blake Siewert, the North American Head of Growth and Innovations at Siemens Healthineers, a leading global medical technology company. With over 25 years of extensive experience, Mr. Siewert is a seasoned business professional, skilled in leading cross-functional teams across sales, marketing, operations, customer service, and more. Holding a Ph.D. in industrial organizational psychology from the University of Phoenix, he founded BSM Creative, a strategic marketing and advertising agency, as well as Adaptive Business Solutions, an industrial and organizational consultancy and recruiting company. Mr. Siewert's experience includes serving as a lean coach and consultant for Six Sigma. Beyond his professional achievements, he has made a significant contribution as a district and state CDC judge in Wisconsin DECA competitions. He's a married father of 4 residing in Madison, Wisconsin. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Blake Siewert.
Hey, thank you, Charles. I really appreciate the invitation and the introduction, and looking forward to sharing a little bit about value in the coming minutes here. Just wanted to level set expectations with all of the viewers out there about the learning deliverables. So the topic at hand is about value. And we're going to talk about 2 distinct areas of value. One, the value proposition, and second, the value equation. And just so that we understand what we're going to go after, or some of the goals from a learning deliverable standpoint, is we are going to talk about a customer facing value proposition, and the intent behind that is to better understand how companies effectively position themselves to win, and to win in the marketplace. And then of course a secondary value proposition is to understand the architecture of the of value itself. So let's jump in and talk about value proposition. Value proposition begins with a concept. So as Charles had mentioned, I had founded a company years ago. This predates the beginning of the internet, and we worked with companies to firstly focus their branding, and then secondarily focus their value proposition on that brand as it related to their products and services. So I'll tell you, the concept isn't new, right? Concepts have been around since the beginning of commerce or business itself. And what I think about when I think about a concept is any kind of customer-centric, externally focused value proposition. And a concept really begins with an idea. And the idea is often then takes form of a new product. And if you see on the bullets on the screen, a new marketing message for an existing product, and then anything that's prioritized, like what's really important to communicate outwardly to the customer. These are essentially like, the components of a concept. So what does a concept need to do? Concepts have to let the customer know what the product is, articulate why do they care, why should you care about it. They should actually move that customer, right, to want them to purchase, and they should assure the customer that the company can deliver on that promise. And of course, at the same time, a concept needs to differentiate themselves from the competition. So I will tell you that concepts are absolutely critical path prior to developing a value proposition. Think of it as like the seed, right, to the value proposition. Without a great or a good concept, you are likely going to fail as a business. So let's just review the concept just to make sure we're clear. The concept should clearly articulate what type of thing is happening. It should express a felt need, right? And it should absolutely express how the product can meet that need. And then lastly, that need needs to appeal to both head and heart. So let's jump into some of the components of a value proposition. Value propositions have three distinct components. And you will recognize these components in every single consumer experience that you have, both good and bad. In the bad consumer experiences, it is often true that one or more of these components of the value proposition are not as mature or not as strong, right? So let me go through this. And this is a rather academic exercise, but we're going to get into some practical examples in just a moment. The value proposition's first component is called true insight. There has to be the understanding from the business, right? From the business that they understand the world that the customer is experiencing. So on the far left-hand side, you can see that a statement that expresses the customer's either frustration, belief, unmet need, and does so in a way that shows that the brand truly understands what the customer is experiencing. So that's a true insight. Second component of a value proposition is compelling benefit. The benefit, it sounds simple, but it's not necessarily easy to articulate. And you'll see companies often struggle with this. The benefit is the central promise of the concept. Remember the concept, that seed, which answers the question for the customer, what's in it for me? You know, why should I care? Why should I buy you? Should I, like, what is it about this that is going to make what I'm experiencing better? Yeah. And then the third is what we call RTB, or reasons to believe. The reason that I believe that the compelling benefit is going to make what I'm experiencing better is often what tips the behavior, or tips the consumer from, well, now I understand what this is, to now I'm going to take action. And the reason to believe can be stacked up in a broad array of things. But overarching, know that the reason to believe are statements that spell out the primary reason or reasons that a customer can believe and trust that the product will deliver the benefit. And oftentimes it takes more than just trust me. If you buy it, it's going to be better. That is often not a compelling enough benefit, unless the brand is so strong that they can articulate that and have reasonable belief that just their words alone will be trusted. So I think the true insight is whatever, just to review, the true insight is just whatever is about to happen, right, or whatever's happening inside the customer's world. And we don't have to go into that in great detail, but I do want to give you some practical examples. So when I was putting this together for Charles, I was saying, well, let me put together something that is rather clinical. And this is an example of helping the physician see through the eyes of the patient. And it's going to talk about the Vantage transitions lenses. But I thought for the average viewer, this might feel a little sterile. So I'm going to skip over this one, and we're going to jump into something that I think everyone in the United States can understand, and in different parts of the world. Let's talk about Amazon's value proposition. Yeah, I think that's more fun to talk about Amazon than it does some type of Vantage lenses that transition when it's darker or light. So let's talk about Amazon. Jeff Bezos says, consumers are increasingly busy and desire a way to purchase products without the hassle of shopping at a bricks and mortar store. Now, if you're like me, many of the purchases you make, right, are coming from Amazon. They're coming from the palm of your hand, and they're coming at a rate of speed that is really, really convenient. The insight that Amazon had so many years ago was that people don't like going to stores. In fact, in not so long ago, there were teams of shoppers that would go out, and they would literally drive to 3 or 4 different stores to see what the price of the same product was. Oh my gosh, that is almost an unthinkable behavior in today's digital consumer market, right? But that's how it was not so much more than a generation ago. The insight here is absolutely a critical part of the whole value proposition. It's the belief that people want a more convenient way to shop. And that sounds so obvious in today's world. but it wasn't an obvious assertion more than a generation back, or not more than a generation back. So here's the central promise or the benefit that Amazon, the leading world's leading retailer. So let's introduce Amazon. Let's pretend you don't know what they are. Where you can conveniently shop a wide selection of low price items and have them delivered to your door. Do you see how that benefit absolutely disrupts the insight? Wait a second. So there's a shop somewhere that I don't have to go to, and they're going to deliver a product right to me? See how that benefit speaks absolutely to the heart of the insight? Now I have to give you a reason to believe that this is possible. So Amazon spent tons of money, tons of research, tons of trial and error and business experiments, right? To become, as they became the world's largest retailer. Amazon understands you value convenience. That's why Amazon curates reasonably priced products through an agile, safe, and reliable delivery service. It is rare that Amazon doesn't deliver. And it's rare that they do not curate prior to delivery the shopping experience that you desire. This is how they've become. This is how they've become the world's largest retailer, but also this is how they deliver on their promise. Amazon's value proposition. Next time you are clicking through your phone or your desktop and you're buying something on Amazon, really think about how they're delivering on all of this. And I think if you want to continue the Amazon analogy in your mind, you certainly could, but then think of any product or any service from any business that delivers high value. And you'll see how it compares against the next slide. Let's distill down the benefit side. So we're right clearly in the middle. This is the promise. Any product that you love needs to be needs driven. Does the benefit meet the customer's need? If it doesn't meet your need, you're probably not going to buy it again. It should have a very focused value, a very focused benefit. And it should differentiate enough to provide a reasonable person the belief that doing business with XYZ company is better than doing business with another company. It has to build on the brand equity, right? So does the benefit reinforce what the brand stands for, strives to stand for? And then lastly, it has to be clear. And I didn't write clear, concise, and compelling because I believe those are all one and the same. The benefit has to be clear and it's not open to interpretation. Think about the strongest benefits related to the product or service that you highly desire. It has all of those things. So let's move on into the components of these convincing supporting elements called reasons to believe. Yeah, reasons to believe come in so many different varieties, and you hear them on commercials, whether it's on television or streaming or in YouTube or wherever you're getting your product knowledge. But they generally find themselves in three distinct categories. One is there's a feature. It slices, it dices, right? There's some kind of feature that they're talking about, or it's some kind of credential or endorsement. And this is where you have influencers saying, I love this product, right? You have people that are doctors saying, oh, I performed this, and there's KOL, key opinion leader testimonials, etc. And in the far right side, you have laboratory or economic outcome data, like real hard data, right? Not the soft, oh, I like it, but this is a clinical outcome that occurred, and this is why it's so important. And you see some of those results like on pharmaceutical ad companies on television. So let's recap value proposition. Starts with a concept. If the concept is really good, then it's worth creating a product around, and that product has to deliver a value proposition. The value proposition has three key components. Remember, it has a true insight, What in the world that the customer is experiencing, and is that experience something that could be improved upon, right? It has a compelling benefit, and it's a central theme benefit, right? And then lastly, it has RTBs, at least one or more strong reasons to believe that this product or service or this company can deliver on the central theme benefit. And that value proposition, right, in summation, has to appeal to both head and heart. And if it does not, it is likely not going to be sticky enough or valuable enough. So I hope that was helpful from the overarching value proposition recap. Let's jump into just a brief understanding of the value equation. Now, when I was a little person, I grew up in a neighborhood where we had lots of neighbors that would travel back and forth in their cars, right? Because remember, years ago, people used to get in their cars to go shopping. They didn't have Amazon, right? So years ago, people would drive up and down our road, and occasionally they'd stop at a lemonade stand that somebody built. And the lemonade stand was priced, I think back in those times, anywhere between 25 cents or maybe even like 10 cents or maybe a dollar or 50 cents. It really depended. But let's talk about the value equation from how we might price something. And I think of a lemonade stand not much dissimilar to any business. You've got cost of goods, you've got a certain reasonable amount of profit that you want to make, and you establish the price. The good news is that my mom and dad, they let me have all the raw material for the lemonade for free. So my cost was nothing except for my time, right? The profit was just whatever I wanted to add on top of that cost. So it was 0 plus, well, maybe 25 cents. And then I established my price. And remarkably, and I'm telling you, this is a very antiquated pricing model that some companies actually still price this way. They think about all of the cost of goods that they have. They think about all that overhead expenses, SG&A, et cetera. And then they add what they really need to make. And then they push that price into the marketplace. And what do? They wait to see, is it going to sell at that price? This is a very dangerous equation for most companies to enter in, because if they guess wrong, people do not buy it. And then you see a whole stream of products that end up in discount retailers, right? If you can go to a TJ Maxx, or you can go to any of these major retailers, that they make their money off of people's miscalculation of this simple value equation called price equals cost plus profit. So how should you do it? How do companies really create value? How do companies flip this value equation? They move it around in such a way that has the opportunity to create unquestionable value. This is how they do it. There's a company called Disney. Do you know that company? I'm sure you do. It is a global empire, right? They create value based on customer experience. Now, remember that lemonade stand that I stood up when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I sold lemonade for 25 cents, 50 cents, maybe even upwards of $1 if I was feeling really, really lucky. Back in those years, we would go to Disney World. And I remember my father complaining that a bottled water, not lemonade, but a bottled water was like $5. How is Disney able to charge that much money? And even today, probably $10, $12 for a bottle of water. How do they do it? Well, they do it with this value equation. Value equals what it's worth, what the customer thinks it's worth minus the cost. In Disney World, they have bubblers or water fountains, drinking areas all over the parks, right? But yet they sell tens of millions of dollars worth of water every year at exorbitant shareholder value margin. Yeah, because the experience of going to one of the stands and buying the water is worth it to the customer. They can carry there's special things that you can hang around your kid's neck, you know, with special pins you can do. Like they make the whole experience so cool that it's worth so much. And a customer might spend upwards of 20 some dollars a day just for water. That's ostensibly free at the park. And then the cost is just the cost. So the cost to Disney for the water, right? They likely pay pennies per bottle for that water. And I'm sure there's a procurement team that negotiates all that. And yes, there's cost of handling and all of those. You have to pay the people that sell the water, but I bet their cost is pretty darn strong. So the overarching value that Disney creates for shareholders, massive. And that's just one product among hundreds of thousands of products available for purchase at any given park at any given day. Disney understands value equation, a formula based on customer value. So, in closing, let me just recap these two related but mutually exclusive concepts. Value proposition starts with a very compelling concept, you know, and then you work that concept into a product. That product or service has to have a value proposition that has those three components: true insights, compelling benefit, and RTBs. In order for that to really drive to true value, you have to take that service and product that delivers that value proposition, and you have to move it through a value equation. And that value equation is value equals worth minus cost. This is how companies are creating differentiated, healthy growth. And for that, I hope this has been super helpful. I hope that it provokes some conversation, some discussion, and some additional interest in how companies do this. And with that, I will open it up for reflection and any level discussion.
Well, Mr. Siewert, we really appreciate your genuinely insightful conversation about value proposition. And we just had a couple questions for our members back at home. The first would be, what are some skills that have proved invaluable to you throughout your career?
Sure. Some skills I think that every single person I interact with would benefit from that I picked up years ago was understanding some concepts that are born out of lean thinking. So I was a lean consultant for some years, but even prior to that, understanding lean concepts such as waste, understanding how to drive waste out of a process. If the value equation is value equals worth, right, minus cost, then the easiest way to create more value is just decrease your costs. And the way you decrease cost is you drive waste out of process. So for the members out there, I would absolutely encourage you to devour concepts of lean, in starting with the concept of waste.
And our second question would be, what would be your biggest tip for high schoolers who are looking to break into corporate America?
I would network. I would absolutely network. I'm part of my organization has some interns, and we have interns every year. We have some that are master's level students, and we have some that are undergraduate level students. We do not have any interns that are high school level students. However, I believe that in talking with the undergraduate interns, they immediately remark on what they did in high school that prepared them to confidently apply for these internships that are really highly sought out. Things that they had done is they became a more well-rounded student and community member. So if you are a one-dimensional athlete, they decided to try a different sport. If they were involved with just one club, they decided to do another club. If they were already super active in their clubs at their school, they founded a club. I mean, there's so many different ways to show that you can become more well-rounded, and part of that is networking, right? Networking with other students. I think this is a really great format for that you all have created here, but also being bold and asking your adults around you, hey, would that be okay if I talk to some of your work colleagues about XYZ and get experience and just a little bit more understanding of that world that is coming after high school. And I think high school students can certainly tap into these professional networks. I think there are safe ways, and there's really compelling groups, I think, out there if you look for them. But absolutely, I can tell you that if a high school student reached out to me on LinkedIn and wanted just a few minutes to chat or had a question, I of course would be humbled and honored to respond. So I can't imagine that my response to that inquiry would be much different than anyone else's that holds a position in corporate America. It's a good question. Thank you.
To end, I just had one last question. And for the value proposition, you mentioned that one of the first stages was identifying, or companies identify some sort of insight or something that, needs a problem essentially that needs to be fixed. So my question was, do you have any advice in determining some sort of insight, especially today, as there's so many different companies out there and so many different problems that have already been solved? So how can you kind of differentiate yourself and be the first to do something?
Yeah. Cool question. I think you have to be, you have to listen. You have to listen to what's happening around you. There probably in any given day, there are interactions that you have with people and machines and processes that are worth improving upon. So I think you'd have to listen first, I think, to your heart to say, oh, I'm really interested for whatever reasons in this particular area, right? And what are people experiencing in that area? It could be in data science. It could be in some kind of entertainment. It could be in some level of production. It could be in any area, right, of business, operations. I think you have to listen. And you have to listen both to yourself, right, your head and heart, but you also have to listen to those around you. When you hear people complaining about, like just anybody in your world complaining about a service experience or a product experience, and they complain about it, and everyone in the room goes, oh, I know, it's totally like that. It's amazing. Every time I fly, it's like that, right? Every time I get into my car, it's like that. There's opportunity there. The question is how then you respond to the listening? Is it a problem or an opportunity worth solving? No, I don't mean monetarily speaking, although that could be one measurement, but it could be something as simple as, yeah, it's always like that, but I solved that. And even though the addressable market is really small, we solved it, and we got an evaluation of $3 million. It's a really small total addressable market. We serviced only 4% of it, but at the same time, it was a problem worth solving. Which brings to the last point, is if you're going to truly monetize something and you want to scale it, the problem has to be as ubiquitous enough to have enough of a total addressable market, and then the business plan itself has to be able to deliver. So meaning, like, you have to have a serviceable, you have to be able to get after a serviceable market, right? So just having the insight is the beginning. Having the wherewithal to actually put together a product that has the benefit and then can deliver on that promise, that's not for the faint of heart. That's a true entrepreneur, right? That can do that. But certainly, Charles, the insight piece is all around you. It is likely that some of the best improvements, or the best spark to create an improvement in a process, your members probably experience on a day-to-day basis. They're probably not listening, and they're probably not responding. But I think if you tune that in, I think some of the most remarkable advancements happen this way.
Well, we really thank you so much for speaking to us, and we'll likely have your contact info somewhere that our members could just reach out if they have a couple questions about this. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for all of your insight that you've provided to us today, and we really appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Really appreciate you putting it together, and yeah, I'll make sure to provide some contact information for you. So thanks a lot.
Super. Thank you.